very broad, but there'll be like life coaches that don't have their life in order. And it's like, it's really hard if you're like, oh, I got this skill, I help people overcome limiting beliefs and all this stuff. But if they're not in resource and they're not being the attractive character and personality that can hold space for others because they're not holding it for themselves, it's really hard to help people, right? I don't care if it's business or if it's, your personal home life. So just making sure that you're in resource and you are the attractive character to attract more people to support.
Welcome to another episode of the Limitless Life Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Smith, and if you have not done so, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another episode. And if you love this episode and you want some more tips and tricks on how to improve yourself, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. There are a ton of instructional videos. You can find the links down below. However, before you go and do that, I would love for you to stick around with another fella that also has YouTube content, mind-blowing information, tactical, practical, applicable, simple. Simple. That's one that certainly stands out to me, that resonates quite a bit. Dr. Matt Shiver.
Okay, that was awesome. That when you told me what the intro is going to sound like, I was like, oh, but that blew it away. That was awesome. Can you
Awesome.
introduce me on all my podcasts?
Yeah, exactly. You know what? Actually, we'll just clip that out and you can send it to every podcast. Just be like, hey,
Before
can
I
you
go
just
on, you have to play this one clip. Automatically, viewers are like, oh wow, I'm ready.
and then somehow I find myself in a career of voiceovers.
Oh, thank you for
Oh,
that, man.
yeah, no worries, my dude. So, Matt, my man, I like to open up the stage to you and to each guest with a question. And that question is, how do you impact the lives of the people around you and the people that you work with?
Oh man, that's a really good one. How do I impact the people whose lives are around me, both in business and in personal? Um, Man, the first answer that came up to that is actually simplification of like how can I simplify things and make things very uh easy, predictable, and consistent. Like honestly, like so I'm a business coach, and what I've always really loved has been creating plans and like organizing stuff. Like even as a kid, I like to organize stuff. And I started doing that when I was a physical therapist and a personal trainer by, giving people exercise plans. And I were the best plans. It was all just very organized and clean. And I knew everything where it was supposed to be and it was good. And then I started realizing how much that applied to business. And I was like, oh man, I really like creating these systems to organize my leads, my sales. Like I could see everything, right? And yeah, it's still my skill set and like my personal relationships too. That's like what I'm good at, So I like the house clean, I like being on time to places. It's the small things like that. And I just like creating more organization and yeah, yeah, more organization in like a chaos driven world.
Nice. Yeah, I really like that. And before I go into another question, you just sparked a thought there. Were you a fan of Transformers when you were a kid?
Not really, to be
Okay, fair
honest.
enough. What?
We watched it, but I don't know the full storyline. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like I'm like, oh yeah, there's a few of them. Robot, like so no, I'm gonna say no.
fair enough. I was curious because I have a when you were describing, I resonate with that because I see my thinking process being very similar. And when I think of my earliest childhood memory of taking things apart, putting things together, or just seeing point A to point B in the instructions, it was Transformers. So I would see how like the beast mode would be, and I would see the robot mode, and then I wouldn't look at the instructions, but I would tweak with it and plan around it and see how, if I could figure out the destination myself without the assistance. So I was kind of like, oh,
Dude, I did
does
the
that?
same thing actually. I did the
Okay.
same thing with toy. Yeah. I mean, not Transformers, but with a lot of like build it yourself toys. I'm like, these instructions, psh, like I don't need them. So very similar. Yeah.
That's sweet. Uh, I've definitely been recognizing that in a couple of folks are um abundant focused. And something that I recognized with your content that I wanted to talk about was that you have a common denominator in all parts of your media. And I also went way back compared to also new. And a common denominator is that um is the simplification of is the inputs and keeping the inputs simple and turning that into a well-oiled machine and then build everything up into an automation. For that simplicity, how is it that you kind of think and plan the simple process?
Yeah. It's deconstructing what the current process is. It's like getting a snapshot of what's the process. And then just asking, is that needed? Is that needed? Is that needed? There's a lot of people in the online space who have big teams, but their team members aren't necessarily at capacity or they're not even at capacity. So it's like, well, why do you want to manage more people or more? That's people, but also even content. Why are you posting on all these different platforms if none of them are giving you a return on your investment? Because you're supposed to? Like, that's silly. Like, how can't we just like create what's the thing that's working? How can we isolate it? It's like I also went to school for sciences. Like I like the scientific method, right? So it's like, all right, let's isolate all these variables. Let's find the variable that we think is causing the change. Let's make that's the hypothesis. And now let's see if we can't test that. What if we doubled that same input? What if we change the input completely? What result does that give us when we do that? And the only way we can really test the variables is by getting rid of all the other things that will influence the result. So it's like, how can we eliminate things so that we have like a true test?
Nice. I like that. Um, Another common denominator that I recognize is prioritizing impact over income. And with what I said about abundance, you talk something that resonated is how, and I'm just assuming all of this, so you can correct me at any point.
Yeah, go do please. Yeah.
But the thing that resonated with me is you, I look at currency or getting paid for your services as a energy transaction. So it may be in the form of dollars, but you're also putting the energy in via free webinars and free lessons, like giving your time, which is the most finite resource we have at our disposal, and you're giving that time, and then with that give, there's a reciprocation of equal to or more from other individuals. And something that was really cool with what I was kind of thinking with this is there's the give. There's a lot more give in what you said compared to a couple other mentors that I follow or I've had. And it's I like the grassroots bare minimum vibe that you have. And that was just an observation mostly.
Yeah, thanks for that, man. I mean, yeah, I've had quite a few people who've became clients of mine because they've said, a lot of the free value that you've given is more than the paid value I've gotten from some of my mentors or coaches in the past. And I'm like, that feels awesome. It feels so good to receive too. And another thing that really that people don't realize, especially in the coaching space, is that it doesn't matter where somebody gets the value from you. It could be, they could, like a lot of people, once they pay me like to work with them, they'll get more value sometimes out of my free content than they will what's inside the paid wall. And the reason for that is that they now just invested and they're now invested in learning from that individual. So it doesn't matter where they're learning from you as long as you keep providing. So yeah, I mean, and just giving more value in general to the marketplace is the fastest way for you to grow a business and to not have to rely so heavily on other cold methods of reaching out and doing a bunch of stuff that you just don't feel really good doing. So Yeah, thank you for that observation. I appreciate that.
My pleasure, dude.
Feels good.
Uh, good. That's good. I'm glad for that, man. Uh, so something with that is the low inputs, high outputs. So simplify something that you said. Oh, actually, yeah. Something that you said that I thought was cool is how can I simplify my business to where I can do less so I can just focus on the inputs that create to outputs of new clients. How how do you when I read that, where does your mind go?
Right now, it goes towards paid marketing because that's where a lot of my time and energy is going into growing my business now. So I see the input being dollars and the output becoming sales calls or calls that are on our calendar. Now, there's other factors inside of that, of course, right? So it's like they opt into the training, did they watch the training? There's emails that get delivered, there's text messages that get sent. There's a team that responds to all those to book calls. There's a lot of factors in there, but from the outside, like the zoomed out view, it's like dollars in turns into calls on our calendar. And the more calls we can get on our calendar, the more clients we can serve, the more money that we can generate for our business, which allows us to invest more into giving free content away. You know what I mean? The only way I could create all that free content is by the money that's received from working in the business because it's a full production. You know what I mean? Like I
Hmm.
have multiple editors. I've got teams that help me with all this stuff. And like I can't pay them without getting paid. And I don't want to edit that stuff. That's not my thing, you know? So it's like the free value is paid for by the clients we work with, which then
Mm.
kind of is a flywheel of bringing in more people that allows us to invest more. And you know, we know that like 1% of our audience or less are going to work with us, but that 1% can fund the rest of the 99% that want to learn, which is cool. You know what I mean? That's so cool.
Yeah, I dig that. Uh, a question that popped up kind of out of the blue on this one. That might be a little bit of a random one, but given what you've been able to accomplish at this point in time, like presently, what do you think your younger self would be most surprised that you have accomplished?
I think I think right now it's actually leading a team because when I first started my coaching business, I didn't want to I wanted to do all of it myself. You know what I mean? I wanted to do all myself. I didn't really want to lead a team. I wanted automations and tech to do everything, you know?
Mhm.
And now we have our core team is six people who are our core. That's not including like video editors and stuff like that. And then we're going to be hiring one more person this month. So it'll be seven and it'll probably keep going up every two or three people probably every quarter or so. And you know, and I'm proud looking at how it's going. Like I'm proud of the people that I've selected who are very like impact driven people, good people that have helped me grow. Because I used to think that if I hired people, it would be really hard and they wouldn't do it as good as me. You know, like these just stories that we tell ourselves. But if you surround yourself with really good people that also have the same values as you and a lot of them are really open to working together and collaborating. So I've been my younger self would be very impressed with how I've changed from going like, oh, I'm gonna be solo entrepreneur to like, no, for me to build something that I'm really proud of, I need more help,
Mhm.
you know, and we're doing a good job with that.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing that. That's a great one.
Yeah.
Uh, something that I also read from yours. I think I'm hitting most of the notes.
You're
I
hitting
think
some
you have.
good stuff, man.
Thanks, dude. You know what? I'm actually gonna toss this one out there too. I think this is the most times that I've referenced my notes or guessed questions, like things that, like I'll have some there, but these are the most where I'm like, okay, geez, I already went down like freaking 10 rabbit holes with this. But yeah, so something that I absolutely it hits home for me, and I'll give more context as to why first, and then I'll go with it. But it hits home for me because I think of coaches and mentors as the individuals that have helped me progress what I'm doing or what I want to do, more so than the systems and structures that are already in place. So I'll put it as I wasn't the best in school, but I was better at an apprenticeship program, but then I was also better at learning with coaches and mentors. And so something that really resonates with me and why I want to pursue uh, becoming a world-class coach as a vision, it's it's something that you said where coaches are the people who will change the health of our communities, not the medical system. I kept it broad with my thought process, but the medical system as well. And I completely agree that coaches are the people who will change the health, not just physically, but mentally, also the wealth of communities. I also look at it and changing the fellowship. I call it the fellowship, whereas the people we make space for and the fulfillment. I think coaches are going to bring all of that together more so than a school system or a medical system that may not be structured in a way that people can learn to the best of their ability.
Yeah, I mean the school system. I mean, but definitely a product of that. Like I have my doctorate degree in physical therapy, and I learned so much from that program. I'm so grateful for it. I learned a ton, and its job is to produce is to have you graduate and be able to pass boards. That's the whole thing. Is like we're gonna set you up. We're gonna give you the curriculum so that when this time comes and you graduate, you know you can pass boards, and then that statistic will be added to our admissions portfolio, right? Of like
Mm.
96% of our students pass. Like that's what they're trying to do, because if they can deliver on their promise, which is we'll help you pass boards and get your license, that's all it is, and that's perfectly fine, right? But that doesn't mean you're going to be a good clinician when you get out, right? It doesn't mean that you're going to be a good communicator, a good listener, like a coach, even though you're like for physical therapists, like we did a lot of talk. I say talk therapy, but we talked to a lot of people, right? And a lot of it was, what are the external factors that's going on in your life that's impacting it? You don't learn, you kind of learn those soft skills in school, but not really. And I think that's really what makes somebody good at what they do, is their ability to relate to other humans, because AI is now here. And if you can't, that's going to replace a lot of a lot of the non-skilled labor. So the value really becomes in the communication and soft skills, because you can't do that. It's all hard with AI, input, output, like to a level that, yeah, it's not as enjoyable to communicate with AI or a chatbot. You're like, no, I just want to talk to a human. I want empathy.
I want
Yeah.
to feel like I'm heard. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And you're not gonna get that. You're like, okay, what I heard is blank. You're like, this is a computer.
totally. Damn. How do you believe I guess how do you believe coaches collectively can help positively impact the world, I suppose?
Yeah, I think a big part of working with a coach is you have to invest into a coach, right? You have to spend dollars, which we're all very attached to, of like, this is my money and blah, blah, blah. But for me to invest in myself, right? Whether it's to invest myself to live a healthier lifestyle. Your insurance isn't going to do that. Your insurance is trying to have the highest profit margins possible. What percentage chance is this person going to be sick or not? Like it's not going to help you invest in your health. It's going to help protect you from disease, from accidents that we can't predict, right? Same thing with yeah, I'd say same thing even with schooling, right? It's to protect you to pass your exam that you need at the end, but it's not necessarily designed to help you, 10x 10x your income, or double your productivity, or do something that's like astronomical.
Hmm.
You have to look for outside mentorship or do something different. Yeah, also outside mentorship to really go beyond what the norm is. And the same thing for spirituality. I think the moment you start investing in yourself, you're going to pay more attention to whatever it is that you're pursuing. So I think coaches, like for coaches to work with people, they've got to we have to get more people to invest in themselves and not rely on the other systems out there to do that for people. And if we can do that, more people take life in their own hands and are making more of their own informed decisions and choices, which leads to just a more free, community, a more free world.
Nice. A buddy of mine, Caleb Wood, has a really cool. He shared it on the podcast too, and we talked about it afterwards. Like that was something that's like true to his heart, and he got to share it. But he explained it very similar to yourself, and he coined it health sovereignty.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I put that in my back. I put that one. I told him on the podcast, I'm like, bro, I put that in my back pocket. I'm going to revisit that. But it's health sovereignty. It's the autonomy from outside sources keeping your health in check. It's like
Yeah.
from within rather than out. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's really powerful. What was it? Caleb Wood, you said?
Caleb Wood. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Freaking
Check him
long
out.
locks of hair. Yeah. He's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. Uh, but oh man. So something else that I thought of when you were talking about AI there, I believe with the increase in AI and having those skills outsourced, I think that people are going to desire and crave more so that human connection, that relationship aspect of humanity and being humans that I believe, generally speaking, many of us have like decreased that exposure. And so with what you talk about with webinars and teaching, like teaching people and human beings actually being there, not just pre-recorded, but also being there. I think relationships and human connection is going to be it's going to be skyrocketing. So the more human connection I believe
Yeah.
people have at their disposal, the more likely they are. That could be the differentiator between the two exact same programs is how much
Oh,
person
for
time do I
sure.
get
And
versus.
access. I mean, I see that too because I invested a lot when I first started into a lot of like courses, and they would be a couple $1,000s, 5, 10 grand for a course, and I even paid up to 20 grand. And like the support that I got was minimal. I would say minimal. Like, they're there, but they're not really there. Like, you know what I mean? You can feel it, right? They're even the large group calls, those can be really efficient for the business owner, but you may not feel that same level of personal connection. So yeah, I think more and more I see more businesses and coaching programs, both in the business coaching space and in the more health, wealth, or health and relationship space, is going more towards coaching, like having a personal coach that you can connect with. So like, and that's something that we're trying to continue to get involved and evolve and get better with that. Like whenever someone does work with us, they do get a one-on-one support coach. And if they needs that support, like we can extend a call and have that time with them because yeah, I don't know, man. I've been part of a lot of burn and churn programs to where they're not tracking your results and you're just kind of there, and like they're okay programs. But I do agree. It's like the more interaction and touch points that we can give that are human, the better. Because even if they have the opportunity to ask one question that's like, to be honest, when I first hired my first coach, it was because I just wanted someone to tell me you're doing a good job, keep doing it. You know what I mean? I wanted because like when I started, I had so many ideas of like, oh, trying this strategy, that strategy. I just needed someone to tell me, Matt, everything's good. Don't change anything. Go walk your dog today. And I was like, I can do that. Like, yeah, you're doing great. I'm like, thank you. And then I would just shut my laptop and go do the thing. So I think just having that assurance goes a really long way.
Mhm. I'll take that. Mm. Yeah, I resonate with that in a variety of different coaching programs. And yeah, I think when I first now I'm understanding or at least for myself, I've been focusing more on where can I pull information and being more intentional about what I'm learning. Because when I first started with mentors, it was a lot more of the assumption or the expectation that I was done for you rather than done with you. But even the done with you was a little bit on the lower end. But I also wanted like, just tell me I'm doing all right. Just tell me I'm doing okay. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's hard. It's hard too. I mean, and for a lot of the business coaching programs and some of the personal development programs, like to have a wide to have a wide reach and be able to like support a lot of people at a very high level without charging a lot of a lot of money. So it's like you as a consumer can pick, do you want the done for you? Do you want the done with you? Do you want the do it yourself? And some people will charge the do it yourself version for the same as done for you. And yeah, it's not the best.
That's legit. Um, something with the before I have another question on this one, but something I really like that you're intentional with is saying invest rather than cost. What is the investment rather than what is the
Yeah.
cost? And that's been something that I've had in conversations in the DMs where someone's like, "What's the cost of the program?" And I would say, "Well, I like to reframe it as the investment because you're not losing anything. There's no cost to you doing this. You're improving, you're getting better. It's an investment in the self." So I just really like that. I like that reframe. Um,
Thanks. Yeah.
so with the industry that you're in, where it's helping businesses, and then it's also helping health practitioners, that's a great combination. You got the health and then you got the wealth. They rhyme.
Yeah.
They're both not, in my opinion, like non-negotiable, like objectively important aspects of
Uh-huh.
human existence. And I also think that it takes a vision or a desire to want to really, the ones that last, a desire to really positively impact people and to give people the solution to whatever the problems that you're trying to solve, that you're solving for them, you're assisting them. Where does that desire to help or to remove someone's pain, or where is that rooted? What is connected to that? What drives that?
Say it again. So my drive to remove someone's pain, as in pain to change.
Yep. So it's like you're just coaching someone from point A to point B. You're
Yeah.
assisting them in getting to where they want to go through a very difficult time. I would refer to you as the Yoda, the catalyst character, assisting others in guiding them to where they want to go. But it takes, but I think that it comes from a place of abundance to want to do that. So where is that drive of abundance, that desire to give, the desire to help come from?
Yeah. Oh man, I think there's a few things. Like I have a very strong driver for curiosity. Like I want to know things and find things out. And the more people I can work with who are going through a similar problem or pain, I can create patterns, so I can see patterns from those. So like I'm driven by curiosity. I love to learn, and I can learn for myself. That's one thing. Like if I'm with my, of course, I'm always learning from my business, my sales, my marketing, my sales process, my fulfillment process. Like that's always learning. And when I can learn from other people and their problems as well, it helps me with mine, but it also helps me share with other people. So there's this constant drive to learn. And then I also love to like problem solving and like puzzles and like and playing games. I played so many video games. I still play some video games now, but growing up. So like all of it is a big game, and that's really it's a really fun game to play. So I just love the game, and I could keep doing it for as long as I wanted to, and I could also at any point, push end and put a new game in. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I see business. It's just like there's so many avenues to go down and different people to help and different problems to solve. And at any point, I can just push end and put a new DVD or a new video game in and play that one. So I like to learn, drive my curiosity, and I like to play.
Nice. Both of those very much resonate with me too. That's pretty cool. Right on. We're just gonna become best friends in the future. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. Our paths are
Well,
gonna cross many a times.
yeah, I'm curious to hear your answer to that question too. It's a great question. Those resonate with you, but I imagine you have your own.
Uh, for two-parter, one, the gamification process. Like I love the game. Like it's fun. Like I look at things as like you're creating your character. What's the skill trees? What are the different skill trees that I got to improve to get from point A to point B? But from like an intuitive pull, uh, and I think if I were to rewind back far enough, I recall a couple of things. So I was introduced to Tony Robbins very early on. Like I think I was before the age of 10 and just heard it. And my mom was really into it and she liked The Secret and manifesting and stuff like that. And I would always see that and I would always listen to Tony Robbins or characters like him. And I really was drawn to the impact that they could have on people in a positive way. But I also liked how I could see how they felt doing it. So I was drawn with that alignment of doing something that is fulfilling and then doing something that is impactful. And then how those kind of tie in, one is introduction, but later on, I kind of had this reflection that I, it was kind of like when we were going through that time, it was a tough time. And so I had that thought process where I would want to relieve that sort of pain. So I had that experience. It was a tough time. My mom was single at that time, it was me and my brother, and she was still wanting to create her life. And that matched with Tony Robbins and also experiencing what it was like at that time. I think those kind of all stacked. That way, I just feel like intellectually, I love the game. Intuitively, I know that I can help and I just want to. And it's like, I don't know, it's like it's heavy. It's like a heavy like even as I'm talking about it right now, I'm like, ooh, wow, I'm bringing up some stuff. So thank you very much for the question. The little freaking
Yeah,
reversal. You uno'd me,
cool.
bro.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, no, that's a good question. I was curious to hear your answer.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I think it's the understanding that a circumstance is not the end all, and that we can be all as well, kind of
It's
idea.
very philosophical.
Came up with it on the fly, man. Thankfully, it's recorded. All right. That's amazing. Uh, on the note of philosophy, has there been any is there, what's inspired you and your philosophy? I imagine that if you're a creative and you are curious, then you probably think often. So I would imagine that there's plenty of self-reflection going in on that where you just create your own philosophy. Any thoughts on that?
Hmm. Yeah, I'm curious. I do think a lot because that's a part of being an entrepreneur is thinking about how you can make things better, thinking about your own life and your own purpose, right? And man, it's fascinating because sometimes it can get dark, you know? Sometimes the thoughts of why are we here? Why are we doing this? You know, it can get louder and louder, and you're like, does any of this matter? You know what I mean? And I think that's where it comes back down to the game, the kind of the game mindset. This seems to be really helpful for me. It's like I don't try to hold too much. Um, yeah, like sometimes even just playing out what's the worst case? All right, what's the worst case if this business goes to here? And it's like, okay, well, then what? Oh, well, then if that happened, then I would just do this. Oh, that's not so bad. You know what I mean? So like a lot of the philosophy that I have is that all of the things that we're working on, the importance of them is only as much as you give to it, right? If I label this as super important, I'm going to feel the emotions of it being very important. But it's all just a game, you know? And at the I like Alex Hormozy's his quote towards it is like at the end of your life, it's like you're playing a poker game, and when the game is over, your life is over. You don't get to keep the chips, right? You got to put them back into the center of the table, and they need to keep being played around. So I really like that, and it really was helpful for me because, especially in business, people like have all these big goals to make a lot of money and do all these things. And it's like, well, what's the point? You know, I think the point is fun. Fun is the point.
I like that, dude. Man, that's great. That is
Yeah.
great.
I
Hmm.
never really thought of it though. Like you asked a really good question because I spend so much time thinking and I don't know, but philosophy is like the thinking about thinking.
Yeah. Nice.
And I never think about thinking about thinking. I just think I'm thinking.
So it's not until probably last year that I really started paying attention to my thinking, or like actually the way I kind of broke it down is think further than the feelings and then just try to push further and further and further. So get into more depth of thought. And it's been interesting. The more I learn about myself, and this is big, like
Yeah.
big trajectory in the last like 5 years, but especially the last two, the more I learn about myself, the more I think about my thinking and question my thinking, test the validity and challenge it, the more I understand that I actually don't really know that much about myself. And it's really freaking weird, man.
Yeah. All you know is that you think the same. I mean, it's crazy. Just like the observation for me of like how much of the same thoughts I have throughout the day that keep playing just on repeat, you know? And oftentimes I'll catch it and be like, man, that's pretty negative. I've been thinking that all day. What? How come I just now am realizing that I've been thinking about that thing all day? And if I just change that one thing, the way I'll feel is so different. So yeah, fascinating.
That's crazy, hey? And it's totally true too. Like when you, one thing that I found as well is when you're thinking about your thinking, I think about, oh my gosh, there's a lot. We're just gonna clip up all the times that we
Yeah,
say thinking. But I coin words as the macronutrients of the mind, the ethereal macronutrients of the mind. Because what we say to ourselves is going to impact how we physiologically feel after that point too. So if you're going through the whole day with, or if anyone, and I'm sure everyone has, going through the whole day with a negative thought, and then you finally clue into it and you're like, oh shit, no wonder I felt like crap today. It's because
that
we were
thought.
feeding our
Yeah,
mind crap.
yeah.
That's cool. Well, my dude, I got one question before the final two.
Oh yeah. All right. Fire away. Let's do it.
Is there anything that has to be said that hasn't been said yet?
No, no, I no. Well, let's think. I kind of want to like because one of the questions you asked about like how do coaches help everybody
Hmm.
um
Hmm.
make change and as they invest themselves. And I think for a lot of if you're a coach and if you want to get into this space, it's like also making sure that you're invested in yourself, like you invest in yourself in mentorship and stuff like that, and then also like you're in a place to be able to give and like you're essentially in resource, right? You have enough resource to be able to provide and give to others because the the clients that we have some of the hardest time getting results with tend to be life coaches. This is like very broad, but they'll be like life coaches that don't have their life in order. And it's like, it's really hard if you're like, oh, I got this skill. I help people overcome limiting beliefs and all this stuff. But if they're not in resource and they're not being the attractive character and personality that can hold space for others because they're not holding it for themselves, it's really hard to help people, right? I don't care if it's business or if it's, your personal home life. So just making sure that you're in resource and you are the attractive character to attract more people to support. And if you're not, then you're not in a place where, you can help a lot of people, paid or for free, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I took a couple notes on that one. In resource. I think you're the first person that I've heard that from.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I
That
mean, I got it from a mentor. It's been helpful for me because whenever I'm like short fused and like, it's like, well, are you in resource? I'm like, no.
yeah.
Yeah,
Why'd you have to ask, asshole?
yeah.
That's
All right,
awesome.
go outside. I'm like, all right, well, for me, I like spending time outdoors and this can be really resourceful, going on longer walks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Walks non-negotiable for me, for sure.
Hmm.
I've been slacking the last little bit, but it's definitely up there.
I have too because it's been so cold outside. No, it's not even
Fair.
that cold, but it's cold enough to be like, I just want to stay inside.
It's minus well, I'm in Canada, -7 Celsius right now. So it's not too bad.
That sounds very cold.
Fair. Fair enough. All right, my dude. I got two final questions for you. For the first one, setting the scene. But before I do that, I just want to say that I'm grateful for you to be here. I'm grateful that you took time of your out of your day to shoot the shit, chillax, philosophize a little bit, and to be the first podcast recording of the year. And thanks, dude.
Thank you. Yeah,
Very
man.
much
Thanks
appreciated.
for inviting me. Yeah, I was very grateful and excited when you reached out.
Right on. So, setting the scene. It's the end of your days. You're laying on your deathbed. You're surrounded by the people that you care for, the people that you love and that love you back. What is the one piece of advice you want to pass on before you kick the bucket?
Oh man. Man, I want it to be like live. Like I'm looking outside right now. I'm in a Airbnb and we decided to stay here in Charleston for one more week and for with the holidays. So we came back here for the holidays and we are supposed to stay for 2 weeks and we ended up extending it for just one more week and we just weren't ready to go yet. So we wanted to be here and just be able to spend time outside with family and just like have a slower week. And yeah, and I think I'm even giving myself that, recommendation of just living and seeing more things and experiencing more things that you don't necessarily wouldn't do all the time. Because even for me, like, I mean, I'm very systems, like systems, routines, all that stuff. But it's like when I do that, yes, I can grow. Like systems and routine is so good to help you grow and achieve something you've never done before. And at the same time, time flies by when you're in routine. Like it just flies by. It's like it's over, and I've had, years go by when I'm in routine. But then when I'm traveling or I'm learning a new skill, it seems like time just slows down. It seems like it's just like, oh yeah, man, I can't believe it's only been a year. I feel like I lived 5 years this past year when I'm exploring. So yeah, my advice would be to live, explore, and almost like have like times of your year or times of your life, or there's seasons to it of like, this is a season where I'm going to put my head down and I'm going to grow this thing to this level. And then there's other seasons where this is my season for exploring. And that means I'm not going to be routine. So yeah, it's my answer.
It's a good answer. I dig it. The final question, the very best version of you that you can envision is sitting next to you right now. What advice does he have for this season of your life?
Mm, I'm gonna say keep growing. So keep being in routine and structure and growing. There's definitely a part of me that wants, like in 2021, I traveled for 6 months and I just was out west, like doing a different state every month, and it was so fun. And the past year, like this past year, is when I 2023 is when I launched this current offer that we now have like 6 employees with, and we're hiring more. And I'm doing all this. I'm like, man, I really want to go travel and go do things. And I'm like, I think right now this is the time to continue to refine the process to create systems internally within the business that will allow me to have more freedom and structure and play outside of it. So patience for sure. He's telling me, hey, dude, just be patient. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't launch any new offer or do anything else. Like what you're doing is working. You're doing really well with it. Keep doing that. And probably at least for another year before like making a massive pivot or change or yeah, shaking things up. So patience and keep growing.
Nice. That is awesome. Well, that's
Yeah.
what I got for you in today's episode. Where can people find you, Matt?
You can find me on social media at Dr. Matt Shiver. You can find me that on Instagram. Same one for YouTube. Create like 2 YouTube videos a week. They're good. They're good. And then you can find me on my website. And it's not at, it's just mattshiver.com.
Sweet. And the videos are awesome. I deep dove into a couple of them while well, researching you.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate it, man. You definitely did a really good job of asking some awesome questions. I heard you quote some things. I'm like, man, I sound smart. I'm like, yeah, I said that. Yeah. I'm happy to talk more about that.
Yeah. You're just like, did I say that? What?
Yeah.
What?
Like, where is that? That's on my website.
Yeah.
Okay, I know where that one is,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
great.
that is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, folks, if you love today's episode, please do me a favor right now. Take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me with my handle at DapperDudeKyle, along with at Dr. Matt Shiver. That is one of the ways that we grow. And until next time, keep up the kindness, and I hope your day treats you as good as you look.